Hello and welcome to the Technology Path to Better Digital Engagement. I'm your host, Casey Brandt, a standards coordinator for Conexxus, or I should say one of your hosts. So I'll be taking the first part of the agenda, so I'll do some housekeeping, and then I'll turn it over to our other host, Ed Colopy, to go through the rest of the agenda. So for a little bit of housekeeping, the replay will be made available on Conexxus365.org. And you can make sure to send your questions directly through the Zoom interface. Please feel free to send those in early. The sooner you get them in, the sooner you go on the list to be answered during the question and answer portion. PCI credits are available for qualifying live events, so please contact us if you're interested in that. Our email address is 365@conexxus.org. So this slide is a disclaimer. It's the slide our lawyers make us put in. The views and opinions that are in this webinar are solely of the speakers and not Conexxus. Alrighty, so now I'm going to turn it over to Ed Colopy to finish off the agenda and introduce our moderator and speakers for this webinar event.
Hello, everyone, and thank you very much, Casey. It's great to be with everyone today. Just want to introduce our moderator for our Tech Path to Better Digital Engagement discussion we're going to have today. Welcome to Abby Carroll, who is the Vice President of Business Development for Convenience Retail at Bounteous. I had an opportunity to meet Abby a few months back at the NACS conference, and she is full of a wealth of information on all things digital and will lead us through a great discussion today. Just want to take a minute and thank all of our 2023 sponsors. Without the sponsors here at Conexxus, their support is really appreciated and allows us to continue to work the work that we do at Conexxus on behalf of the industry. And one of our sponsors today, especially, is our friends from Bounteous. So let's watch this video for a minute. And again, a big thanks to Bounteous and Abby. It really gives Conexxus the opportunity to bring retailers and suppliers together. And it really truly shows the partnership that Bounteous can have with the retail community that are part of Conexxus and beyond. Just a little bit about Conexxus. I've been involved with Conexxus for many years, since its founding way back when I was a retailer. But we are a neutral forum where retailers and vendors can network and come together to create standards and solutions that are beneficial to our industry. We also educate through white papers and events just like today's webinar on Conexxus 365. And we advocate on technical level at other organizations to help steer the conversation around standards and policies, so that changes don't negatively affect your business. Also just want to mention opportunities for you to connect with Conexxus. Just like today's webinar, there are ongoing webinars typically every month. So please make sure that you're subscribed to our email list that you check, that you can find on our website, conexxus.org. And you'll be notified of future webinars. There is one that's coming up in early April called Connect with Conexxus. And it's an opportunity to hear more about our annual conference that starts at the end of April and really extends into that first week in May. We hope you can join us for that. please make sure you also connect with us by our group on LinkedIn, Conexxus.org. And then I'd like to introduce our panelists today that are going to join Abby. These are two great friends of mine from the industry. First, Zach Anderson, who I had an opportunity to bring on as an intern when we were together at the pantry several years ago. Zach continues on in the convenience industry by being the director of enterprise architecture at Circle K. So Zach, thanks for rejoining me today. It's fun to be back with you. And my friend for many years, Chris Egan, who we've had an opportunity to renew our friendship and our industry relationship in the recent year through study groups. But Chris and I first met when he was at Speedway. He is now at United Dairy Farmers, and in the last year or so has been promoted to their Chief Information Officer. So a big welcome and thanks to Zach and Chris for joining myself and Abby this morning. You're in for a great discussion on digital engagement. Abby, why don't you take it away from here?
All right, thank you for the introduction, Ed. Investing, and we can go to the next slide. Investing in digital is a long-term and evolving strategy that requires a programmatic approach towards innovation. And at Bounteous, we use the digital maturity model to evaluate the current stage of a brand and align goals and initiatives to each stage to progress in digital maturity. The interesting thing is consumers don't just compare the digital maturity of one brand to a like brand. Consumers compare digital maturity of a brand to every other digital touch point in their lives, which means they'll compare a digital maturity of a C-store to their last retail shopping experience, to their last dining experience, to their last social media TikTok experience. And in our research, the majority of C-stores are in the inactive or the initiation phase. And in these first two phases, this is where there's either no digital capabilities at all or limited functionality with templated or white label solutions. And as C-stores progress to the foundation phase, this is where we start to see more custom platforms and a more unified experience throughout those digital touch points. And that's both on-prem and off-prem. Now, the acceleration phase is where it gets to be really exciting. This is where brands use first-party and third-party data, technology, and insight to experiment across web, mobile, digital marketing channels to orchestrate cross-channel experiences to provide the customers with personalized content, personalized offers, personalized campaigns, and those things then drive higher revenue and higher loyalty with customers based on those connections that have been created. And then this fifth stage is of the digital maturity journey. This is where technology becomes core to the brand's DNA and it becomes core to their growth strategy. Innovation digital competence becomes a point of competitive differentiation, and brands find unique ways to engage with customers and drive incremental revenue. So we're excited to have Chris Egan from United Dairy Farms and Zach Anderson from Circle K join us today to share insights on how they're creating digital roadmaps for the future, creating scalable technology solutions to help customer insights, and their brand engagement and their growth. So let's get into it. Welcome, Zach, and welcome, Chris.
Thanks.
Thanks, Abby.
Yes. So, Chris, United Dairy Farmers has evolved the product offerings over the years, but we've also seen an evolution of your digital strategy and loyalty program. How would you define digital strategy today?
Sure. To me, it really just boils down to how do we use technology to make the business better and ultimately more profitable. And we view this both as what are new ways that we can interact with the customer, whether that's mobile ordering or kiosks in the stores, as well as more internally, how do we put in better collaboration tools and better analytics?
Yes, Zach, Chris said that digital strategy is using technology to make businesses more profitable and meeting the needs of the customers. We know that there are many differences in the Circle K business model, but does digital strategy have the same definition for Circle K?
I think for the large part it does. I think we are defining these technology implementations to enable both our customers and employees to meet their needs efficiently, similar to Chris' statement. I think the way we like to think about it, a little bit in our digital transformation, is moving technology from behind the counter to in front of the counter.
Yeah, and so as digital strategy is what progresses a company through the digital transformation journey, we just looked at the stages of a digital transformation journey as Bounteous describes them. Zach, as Circle K has focused heavily on customer engagement, how is your digital transformation advancing customer engagement?
Yeah, I think as you look at those particular stages, we're kind of on the tail end of initiation and moving into foundation. We're working on implementing a loyalty platform in North America. We've got a custom built mobile app that we've launched. We've had a very successful pay-by-plate digital program in Europe that allows our customers to pay for their fuel digitally just by the recognition of their license plate. Several partnerships with delivery marketplaces. And I think we've had a lot of success in what we call our smart checkout. Others may call it self-checkout. And we've really seen the customers engage and enjoy that way to check out frictionlessly with us.
That's all very exciting work. Chris, we've talked about the various touch points within the customer journey. How do you prioritize features and capabilities in the customer journey, and how do you measure the customer impact?
So we're a pretty flat organization, so there's a lot of collaboration between senior leadership to make those decisions. But I think the key inputs are, we look at what is having the biggest impact to the bottom line, which channels are profitable, which are not, so we know where to make those continued investments. And then feedback from customers through surveys. So even if it's making a positive impact, maybe there's something that we could add or change to make that experience better.
Do you have any advice on how to ensure technology doesn't negatively impact customer engagement?
So I definitely think it's important to make sure that you don't lose sight of your current strengths in the interest of chasing new tech. Maybe one example for us is part of our culture is we have a lot of community-based stores, a lot of longtime customers who know and like interacting with our associates. So when we rolled out food ordering kiosks, we put a lot of focus on making sure that some customers liked it out of the gate. Some view that or could view this as getting in between them and the associate who they know and like talking to. So just making sure that we talk to them about this and it didn't become a barrier or a jarring experience for them.
Very helpful. Chris, how has your technology team grown at United Dairy Farmers as a result of customer engagement initiatives?
I think the biggest way it's grown is to bring on some project management and business analyst expertise. Historically, we've done a lot of things, tended to do things in-house. And so as we've worked more vendors, either to have the best solutions that we can find or to go faster, it's been important for us to build out those skill sets.
Yeah, and Zach, I know your organizational structure has shifted with your digital strategy, and Circle K has adopted safe agile methodologies. What's the best advice you've received in aligning on a digital strategy?
Yeah, I think it's not just focusing on the technical delivery. I think we've learned that it's more about also the ways of working as part of that transformation. And our safe agile implementation has helped us. We've had new roles with technical product owners, product managers, scrum masters, release train engineers, all these roles and terms we didn't have in our organization before. And that's really allowed us to streamline our processes and stay focused on delivering that unique customer experience we're after.
As Circle K is a large organization, do you have a specific approach to gaining alignment within a co-leadership team with marketing and technology?
Yeah, I think We have several approaches. One is through our annual business kind of planning, and we've got some good engagement from our technology team, reaching out to all the different functional areas, especially our marketing team, and planning what the year ahead looks like and what the wish list is. And then even once we have that, every month, every initiative is brought forward in front of our entire executive leadership team for review to understand if it's where the team believes we should be investing, and if things are on track in spending and the deliveries that are happening.
And I know that Circle K has had many acquisitions and mergers. How has this impacted your tech stack?
Significantly. We through that growth, we've acquired quite a significant amount of technology debt. We spent the last many years kind of focused on simplifying and standardizing our technology and our processes. And we finally reached a point where we think we still have a lot of complexity, we still have tech debt, but we've been able to standardize enough to allow us to kind of, like I said, reach the end of that initiation phase and get into the foundation phase in our digital strategy here. So that's kind of really the tradition's been around getting the point of sales consolidated, getting your ERP systems, getting HR systems all consolidated. That's allowed us now to have some global solutions and some standard processes to implement these newer digital strategies.
So does the tech debt from the mergers and acquisitions impact your ability to build new features and capabilities?
For sure. I think at a lot of times, we are thankful for our size and our acquisition, but it's a challenge, right, to overcome when we have so many different nuances and the way things have been implemented historically. So when we try to roll out a single feature, and it has to go through many different iterations of point of sale and process and testing to make sure that feature works everywhere, it definitely impacts our ability to deliver.
Yeah, and then another thing is the employees and the customers, right? We hear so often in the C-store space how there's such an extended focus on the employee. As your digital solutions also include the employees, not just the customers, are there enterprise applications? Are they approached differently than consumer applications? And is there broad alignment on the need for both?
So I think there is broad alignment on the need for both. I don't know if they're approached that differently within our organization. And kind of like I mentioned, that business planning process, everything goes through that. So there's got to be a business sponsor partnering with the tech and telling a good story, right? You got to have a strong story and a business case to support. But I think at Circle K, we really recognize that the employees are so important to our organization, and their job in the stores is challenging. So everything we can do to simplify and make them more efficient through the use of technology, it is going to be prioritized pretty high, right along with our customer initiatives and making sure our customer engagement's there.
That makes sense. Chris, I want to go back to something that you had said. You had talked about building in-house versus outsourcing. Are there certain digital capabilities that make sense to outsource versus building in-house? And does that change as you progress in your digital maturity journey?
So I think one example for us that it made sense to outsource is our mobile app. I've built mobile apps internally, past organizations, but it requires a variety of specialized skill sets. And for our size, rather than trying to find and maintain that talent in-house, it made a lot more sense to find a vendor who could do that. And I don't view that decision as changing as we progress. I think that again, for our size, it makes sense to find partners.
Yep, got it. Zach, same question to you. Are there digital capabilities that make more sense to outsource versus building in-house?
Yeah, I think so. I think at Circle K, we've made the decision to fully own the customer experience. So therefore, we're custom building mobile front end mobile apps with digital screens in our stores. Those are in-house developed, but there's several key digital components when you look at a digital architecture that we aren't going to bring in-house. We can't do better than that's out there, such as customer identity and access management, content management systems, digital asset management, product information management. So these are all systems that we've elected to partner with other solution providers instead of trying to maintain these capabilities with in-house resources.
Yep, that makes sense. For an organization to continue on their digital maturity journey, we need to measure the investment and prove out the ROI. Is there a certain way that you measure success at Circle K?
Yeah, I think ultimately it comes down to the business sponsor and technology kind of working together to define those key indicators. But we're looking for increased traffic. We're measuring customer satisfaction and adoption. We've used Net Promoter Score pretty heavily in our customer satisfaction results, and we've seen some of the results in more visits and larger transactions through some of these digital initiatives, as well as the general customer satisfaction. We'll run intercept studies and get some customer feedback as well.
And then Chris, do you use data to better understand your customers, and has your data analytics platform changed in the recent years?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think one of the things that we've changed is moving towards Power BI to power that analysis. Historically, we've got a lot of historical reports that are tabular reporting. They come out on a monthly or weekly cadence. I think Power BI has allowed us to have more timely access to information, render it in maybe easier to understand and more compelling, graphical. I can see the trend line ways than a tabular report would give you. And crucially, it's dynamic. So it allows those decision makers to answer some of their own questions. So previously, if a report came out, and that might generate a follow-up request to IT to say, well, how does this look for a specific category or compared to last year? Now those decision makers can answer that question themselves faster. And that also allows IT to spend more time rather than running ad hoc reports, to spend that time moving other reports into Power BI so we can continue this.
Yep. Yeah, the more that you can get data, the more there's a need for it, and you can move more quickly as an organization. Zach, there's an expansion of digital touch points throughout the customer journey. We've talked about web, mobile, kiosk, pump, self-checkout. How has your team and your solution providers brought it together with all the diverse technologies and experiences to have a cohesive voice to your customers? And where do the technologies need to be further integrated? And is there a way that you're addressing this?
Yeah, so I think we still have some opportunities in this area. I think we're trying to use loyalty and our next generation retail platform really as the anchor points to get that seamless customer experience across the different channels and touch points to bridge that digital and physical world. I think there's a couple areas we could I see us exploring in the future a little more. One is around the customer data platform and really unifying our view of the customer. So we've started some of those discussions, but I think we have a long ways to go in really driving a personalized experience and a seamless experience for our customers. And I know we touched on the employee digital initiatives as well, and I think that's another opportunity. I think we've, kind of looking back over the past few years, spent a lot of time taking some pen and paper type tasks and moving them into digital solutions. But maybe those weren't done with the end in mind so much, and they were more done in silos. And I think now we've ended up with a pretty complicated set of systems that our employees and store staff have to work through that could have been done more cohesively.
Is there a way that you think there could be a better integration and a more seamless approach to reduce those redundancies and increase efficiencies in your tech stack?
Yeah, I think that there's opportunities. I think, like I said, starting with that end in mind, and I think trying to find the common business capabilities that you're driving so that you can map the right technology needs across them holistically. I think in an organization our size, that's really challenging with the number of people we have to align with. But I think that can help if you have that general common business capabilities defined and then bring the tech stack along. It allows you to clearly see those patterns and integration points and overlapping needs so that things come together in a more cohesive way at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. Chris, we've seen so much advancement in C-stores and in technology, and it seems to just keep getting faster and faster. And, just like what you were saying, with the more data we have available, the more need there is for data and the more seamless the experiences can be. If we were to jump ahead 5 years, is there something that you're most excited about within this space?
There we go. Can you hear me now? Sorry. Well, I certainly, I hope this occurs sooner than 5 years, but one thing I am definitely excited about is the growth of contactless payments. We made the decision to put in contactless readers at all our dispensers as well as inside. And without talking about it, we've seen a pretty substantial portion of our customer base migrate to that for payment, and it grows every month. And what's really exciting to me about this is the ability to layer on value-added services, or VAS, on top of that. And if you're not familiar with VAS, I'm going to grossly oversimplify it to say it's our ability to layer on loyalty to those payments. So if somebody pays with Apple Pay at the pump and they're not a member of our UDrive loyalty program, we can pretty seamlessly digitally enroll them and provision them a card. So now I don't have to give them a card they're going to lose. They're going to keep this with the phone. And then on every subsequent transaction, if they're paying with that Apple Pay or Google Pay, we can include loyalty. So now we get a lot more consistent usage of it, get a whole picture of the customer. I've seen QSRs who are implementing this, but I'm not aware of anybody yet in the C-store space. There may be someone, just not aware of anybody yet in the C-store space who's doing that. And I think it's one of the, if not the biggest opportunities for us to better engage with our customers. Certainly hope that we will get there sooner than 5 years.
So in that scenario, would it mean that a customer would not need to provide their loyalty number or anything else to get the points, but they would need your app or something else in order to redeem them?
Yeah, I think redemption's separate. But now once we have them enrolled, we've got ways of talking to them and telling them about the other value of the program. It's that, how do we make that initial enrollment seamless so that it's not a big step, or I'll do this later and they never get to it. How do we just right there capture that information, get them on the program? Now we can talk to them, get them using it. I think that's very powerful.
I love it. It's like they say, making convenience stores convenient.
Well,
Zach,
sorry, just one more thing.
Yeah.
Part of what I like about this is it's not anything that we have to teach them how to use or that's unique to Fuel. It's they're using this payment elsewhere. So it's something that they just naturally migrate to and want to use.
Yeah, I love that. Zach, as we look 5 years down the road at 2028, note here, let's say that when we say 2028, that sounds so futuristic, but it's only 5 years away. But Zach, is there something that excites you about what's on the horizon for Circle K and for your passion of technology?
Yeah, I mean, I would echo what Chris says. I think he's got a key one there. I think we have a unique advantage of we see contactless payments very heavily in Europe in our business, and that's the number one identifier for our loyalty program. So I think we've got opportunities here in the States to mirror that. But one of the other things I'm probably most excited about, and I think will happen, is digital screens, digital advertising. I think we spend a lot of money on printing posters and signs and across the industry, and I think that we'll see that initial barrier to entry is pretty high on the cost of those digital bases. But I think we've seen it and continue to in pumps, at the point of sale, in the windows, on the cooler doors, everywhere that we have customers' eyeballs. We'll get to see more digital screens. And I think what I'm most excited about is seeing, that unique customer value prop come to life. If Abby walks into the Circle K, right, we show what Abby cares about and not what Zach cares about. So that's probably one of the things I'm most excited about.
I love it. All of this sounds like getting into the final phases of the digital maturity journey and getting into that innovation phase, right? Now, how can organizations like Conexxus help achieve these goals? Zach, Chris, I will leave it to both of you to answer that.
Well, like I mentioned, I'm seeing QSRs who have implemented VAS, and I know I'm certainly, always talking to our vendors about how we can prioritize this and get it done. But I think it's going to take, an industry voice, and hopefully that's something that Conexxus can help us work with the big vendors to make this a priority and make sure that we don't fall behind from what others have.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think just the continued work on standards and allowing that, interoperability between these different systems as we bring a lot more new technology to the industry is key, because we're going to be able to need to put the right pieces in place to deliver that unique customer experience.
Well, like true technologists, you have both provided such highly inspirational and valuable content in a short period of time here today. And so I really appreciate what you have shared with us and what you have shared with the audience that we have online here. And I know that I'm going to be going back and replaying this, and I urge others to as well, because there's so many great nuggets of information and different POVs that you guys have provided as leaders in this industry and leaders in this space who come from various sizes of organizations that are ultimately trying to achieve digital maturity, but in ways that make sense for your organization and your teams. So I know that there's been a lot of questions that have come through the chat, and I'm going to turn it back over to Ed, and we're going to jump to those questions and hear what the audience had to say. Ed, the floor is yours.
Well, thanks, Casey. Great discussion. Appreciate the insights that Chris and Zach shared with you today. First up is please send your questions along. As Abby says, we have a few that are here, but we'd like to hear from all of you that are out there. So please send your questions along, and we'll keep the conversation going for a while. First up is Chris, in your discussion around profitability and the like, you said that was an important component of how things get approved and then move forward and then kind of proven out that you've made the right decision. So one of the questions came up as you were talking about contactless around, do we have any basket size change or perhaps increase would be the great story to be able to tell. But have you seen a change in basket size at all because of contactless?
So meaning as customers have moved to contactless, or just?
Yes, yeah. Or is the contactless customer, is their basket larger than, somebody paying by card, with, dip or with cash?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I'm kicking myself because it's not an aspect that I've looked at. Luckily, I've got a platform I can go find that pretty fast, but I can't say I've looked at that previously.
Very good. And Zach, you mentioned also, the business needs to come together with their compelling story. How does the story then in turn get measured afterwards?
Yeah, it's a great question, Ed. I think it depends on what that story is and what the business objective is. Our focus in our marketing and our growth team is really around traffic and increase in traffic. And so we're looking at unique visits to the store. We're looking at transaction counts. We're looking at digital engagements. Are we driving more traffic online in our digital channels? Are we getting more impressions in the media, right? So I think all of those are measurements that we use. Ultimately, those should translate to the bottom line, but we're really focused on those traffic drivers.
Excellent. Another question is around just customer feedback. And Zach, you mentioned Net Promoter Score. It'd be interesting to hear how you measure that digitally. And then for both of you folks, do you utilize any real-time customer feedback collection in addition to, maybe more traditional survey methodologies?
Yeah, I mean, implemented a kind of a real-time Net Promoter Score feedback within our mobile app, and we've seen some pretty good engagement on that and gotten some good insights from that. Outside of that, we aren't using a lot of other real-time customer feedback collection.
And in the app, each time a customer uses the app, does it request them to give you a Net Promoter Score type question?
It's not every time. It's kind of an algorithm there based on the activity, so that we don't become too annoying, but that we still get some feedback. So it is periodically, yes, you will get asked to rate how your experience was.
Chris, how about for you?
I would say today it's traditionally the after action surveys. We're focused on putting in a platform at the pumps and the other tech that we'd need to do to make that more real time, but that's not part of the journey. Right now, it's mostly after action.
Excellent. And Abby, I have a question for you. What perspectives do you have on what 2028 will be like for the C-Store digital engagement world? Oh, you're on mute.
Yes. My hope for it is to be a much less frictionless experience. And right now we see so many frictions in the amount of input that a user is required to do both at the pump and in the store. Additionally, with the rise of food availability in the store and the more or less the acceptance to going to a convenience store to get meals, we see on the rise for that millennial mom, that mom who previously had a lot of roles and responsibilities to create a home cooked meal. Now we're seeing a lot of it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to have self-care. And for that millennial mom to feel okay about going to the convenience store on the way to soccer practice, between work and school and all those events with their kids, to be able to go and get a variety of options for their kids and for their family members and for even other people in their lives. And we're at a time where people have been introduced to online ordering, and especially Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Those are the demographics that have the instantaneous gratification as well as the choice of options. And so as those generations then relate to that millennial, they're going to be pushing for the availability to go to the C-Store and get the items that they want quickly and getting their exact items that they want. So I see a lot more food online ordering from the C-Stores, and I see a lot more of the trips not being just to get gas or just to pick up a soda, but really being comprehensive of all of those items that are needed in a quick trip, as well as then giving that consumer the ability to check off other items on their to-do list. And we're seeing Amazon lockers, we're seeing a lot more in the C-Store space, but making it be more than just what's traditionally in the C-Store.
Thanks, Abby. And along that line of the customer segmentation that Abby mentioned with Gen Z, Gen Alpha, Chris, are you folks segmenting customers that way at this juncture in your digital journey?
I think we certainly can have that, but I think there's a lot of effort that's also spent on purchase behavior. We can see, just depending on what their specific needs are, a Gen Z might purchase like an Alpha or a Gen X. So I think that there's a lot of focus that's spent on what is their purchase behavior.
How about that customer
I think
segmentation?
that's a big one, is the purchase behavior and really knowing those customer needs. I think that's huge. The more that we can know about that segment's purchase behavior and purchase behavior as a whole, I think is really where we're going to really have that communication line open with customers.
Zach, have anything to add on customer segmentation?
No, I think we're in a similar boat to Chris. Just to throw it out there, I questioned myself, and we haven't gotten there yet, but I'm really curious to see we have some options within the app to say I'm interested in these type of things, different products or whatever, and I'm curious to see if that really aligns with what they purchased, right? I think a lot of times we can say we're interested in something, but what we actually buy may be something different, especially in the convenience store space.
And
Yeah,
you're
I think you're exactly right, Zach. We used to joke all the time that people say they're interested in salads and then go buy from the roller grill. So, the actual behavior is really important.
but those insights into the consumer are really amazing to be able to, get at what's real, right? So, Zach, when you mentioned digital signage, it prompted a question from one of our audience members who's asking, with at the pump advertisements to advance sales, do you see that reducing the printed materials, and then how do you transfer that to the tech that's inside the store?
Yeah, I think right now where we're at is it's both and. We've got digital signs and printed signs, and it can maybe be a bit overwhelming at times. And I think that's kind of what I see in the future is if we're able to remove some more of that printed signage and get it all to digital and be able to control and manage that customer experience more holistically, and not have conflicting messages, would really be an opportunity for us. Right now, I think we're doing both.
Well, I think, what part of the appeal to me of those, having screens at the dispenser and having a loyalty program is hopefully being able to tailor those messages. Zach, I think you hit it well earlier when, if you're at the pump, I want to show you advertisements or information that's interesting to you, not to the general audience, not to me. So I think there's a real potential there over time.
Chris, when you mentioned community service, community-centered kind of approach to your digital strategy, and given that you're in smaller communities, it also clicked in my head that you folks are in the manufacturing business with ice cream. So how do you take your manufacturing component of the business, which becomes a core item in the C-store, and are you doing anything digitally to kind of drive the manufacturing sales components of the business?
I think the biggest thing that we might be doing there is it gets back to the analytics and how do we trace things all the way through. So, we can see the sales of the stores and just having more timely information that can inform what do we need to be manufacturing, what's the profitability of different items. So I think getting that unified analytics platform and more timely information is probably the best thing that we're doing there.
Very good. Someday I'll get to taste the ice cream. The audience, just one more reminder, if you've got a question you want to ask Abby or Zach or Chris, please put it into the Q&A section, and we'll get to it. But Zach, you folks at Circle K have a unique opportunity to try things out kind of on a global basis. And I wonder how you as a company kind of view what happens maybe in Europe, and often it happens there first. So do you see drivers that, make a difference in other parts of the world that, we're not able to deliver here on stateside?
Yeah, I mean, I think as we touched on a little bit in the payment space, right, we see a lot more unification and advancement in Europe, contactless payments. And, I mentioned our pay-by-plate initiative. I think Europe was ripe for that. We had a lot of the pieces in place. There was a ready adoption for that. So that's not such an easy thing for us in the US, largely due to the size of the investment needed in the camera technologies and the way the license plates are made. A lot of technical details to handle there, but I think that is an opportunity for us and something we try to leverage, particularly in the e-mobility space. We've got a very large implementation now in Norway and spreading throughout Europe, and been able to learn a lot there and what it is required from a technology perspective that maybe is a little different than what we've done traditionally for fuel. And so that's been a great advantage of ours to be able to leverage that and learn and bring some of those learnings to the US.
Very good. Abby, any other thoughts on what Chris and Zach have shared with us today?
I think this has been a really great discussion, and I think that there's been a lot of great highlights that you guys have both shared from your specific industries and from what your specific companies and what you're doing. So I'd just like to end with thanking you both for joining us and spending this time with us today and for sharing. And that's one thing that I love most about the C-store industry is the knowledge share across the board. And everybody's in to win together. And the more that we can talk and learn from each other, the more it better positions each company to grow and to raise customer expectations and to learn from each other. So I thank you, Chris and Zach, both for joining us. Ed and Conexxus, thank you for hosting and facilitating this session. It's been a very valuable session for me, and I'm sure it has been for the rest of the attendees as well. So thank you.
Thanks, Abby. And I just want to give Chris and Zach a big shout out, but go ahead, Chris.
I was just saying, thanks, Abby.
And how about what didn't we ask you that maybe we should have, Chris?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Or Zach,
I don't know.
I'm
drawing a blank here, Ed. If I come up with something the next minute, I'll let you know.
Zach, anything that you?
I mean, I think you hit the highlights. I think one of the questions that Abby maybe touched on there a little bit is how do you innovate and where do you focus? And I think what we've seen, we have the advantage maybe of being a larger player in the space, and what we've seen is being able to partner with some of these startups. So we've got a dedicated Circle K Capital Venture Fund that we started, and we have a team actively searching out and kind of incubating some of these startups, providing some financial support. It has really opened our eyes to some of the opportunities that we have, and maybe these startups may mature enough to be a part of our technology ecosystem in the future. So I think that's been one thing that I'm really kind of proud of, and I think we've done well as a company and been able to learn a lot. It hasn't all been successful for sure. We've seen a lot come and go, but we learn from them and we get stronger from that. So it's something that I think I'd like to share with the audience.
Well, thanks. Chris, did you come up with anything on that open-ended question?
One of the challenges that we've had is just trying to balance when something's ready and versus making sure that we don't just throw everything out there and then we've got a lot going on that's unsustainable. So trying to hit that right balance of kind of the 80-20 rule of we're not going to wait until something we think it's perfect, because then you'll never get anything done. But how do we get those pilots out there that are good enough, at the same time balancing that we're not going to try and do everything, because then we've just got a whole bunch of not well supported initiatives that don't buy us a lot.
Super. Thank you again, Chris and Zach. The retailer perspective on these webinars and always in the conversations are invaluable to our audience, and also to our sponsors to be able to hear from the voice of the people that they're working to serve is important. And a big thanks to Abby and the team at Bounteous for allowing Conexxus to put today's webinar together. And I want to invite everybody to continue the conversation. Reach out to us at Conexxus, and we can connect you with one another. And also encourage you to join us at the Conexxus annual conference coming up at the end of April, beginning of May. If you go to conexxus.org, there's a site that will tell you more about the annual conference, and it's a great opportunity to continue the networking and the education that has been part of today's webinar. So again, thanks to everybody. Casey, back to you.
All righty, thanks, Ed. Again, just thank you to Abby, Chris, Zach, and Ed for coming and talking to our audience about this important topic. Just a reminder to everyone, this is going to be available on demand afterwards in case you have people you'd like to share this with, people that didn't get a chance to watch it yet. And feel free, if you had questions that you didn't get a chance to ask today, let us know. We'll make sure to send them out, get the right person connected with you to answer it. Alrighty, and then feel free to visit us at Conexxus365.org to see some of the webinars that we've done in the past, and you can reach out to us if there's a webinar that you'd like to see. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.